Hello, my name is Michael. I used to love eating dinner with my dad and mom and sister. We used to have a salad one day, a pizza the next, then a nice homemade Chinese curry. But one day my dad decided to drive us to McDonald's. When we went inside, I loved it. I loved the look of it. I loved the taste of the food, and I loved everything about it. And so did my dad, my sister, and my mom. We all had a Big Mac and fries. We really enjoyed it, and to be honest, I was really looking forward to go back to McDonald's again. But what really made things take a bad turn is when my dad brought us back there every night that week. Me and my mom and sister didn't want to upset him by telling him we were getting tired of it because we knew how much he enjoyed it. Me and mom and my sis were in the living room one night discussing what we would do. We knew we had to do something about it. After a while, it wasn't just one meal my dad had, it was 3, and then 4 and 5. Eventually, one day, I went cooking with my mom. We made a meal that we knew my dad used to love before he got obsessed with McDonald's. He looked at the meal when he came into the kitchen and said in anger, "What is this? We are going to McDonald's." My mom said, "Sweetie, we know you love McDonald's, but we just thought that we were having so much lately, we would like a change, and we made a lovely curry that you used to absolutely love." My dad stormed out of the house, and about an hour later, he came back and put loads of McDonald's bags on the table. He shouted at us, "You think you can just forget about McDonald's?" He pulled out a gun and pointed it at us and said, "Eat up, eat everything that's in those bags." He pointed the gun at us until we ate every single thing in the bags, until we all got sick. He then smiled and said, "Don't ever disrespect McDonald's, because every time I'm eating McDonald's, I'm loving it." He then gave a sinister smile. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Teresa was worried about her sister Judy. Judy was arrested several times in the last few months and recently was put on house arrest. She was pleased that her sister was at home and knew that all her friends were forbidden to call to see her. She knew that Judy hated being in the house the whole time, but also was happy that she wouldn't find herself get into any trouble by being able to go outside. Teresa was walking around her local park when she had noticed there was a trailer with a psychic in it. She wondered what a psychic would be like and knew she didn't believe in them, but she needed a distraction, so she went into the trailer. She hoped she was free to see her, and she was. A few minutes later, Teresa realized that the psychic had just confirmed she was a charlatan when she had been making no sense about her sister killing people today that were working in a restaurant. Teresa was smiling inwardly, knowing how could she kill anyone that works in a restaurant when she can't even go outside her door. Teresa tried to look as interested as she could, and she was actually enjoying the whole entertainment of it. The novelty value wore off fast when she had to pay the charlatan $20. She was cursing herself walking home, knowing she could have went to a great movie in the cinema and had a meal with her $20 that she spent on the damn charlatan. When Teresa got home, she noticed something looked wrong. Her door was open. She knew that her sister wouldn't have gone out. She hated prison and wouldn't risk that. As Teresa got nearer, she screamed as she saw 4 different delivery drivers dead just outside the door. Judy was standing inside the door in a daze. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Pat was really happy that he got to buy a beautiful new house for half the money that you could get anywhere else. It was just the type of house he loved and in an area that he dreamed of. Prior to finding the property, he spent hours on end looking at property sites and couldn't find anything that suited his budget. Pat used to work very hard in a factory for long hours, but for some reason he seemed to have hardly no money left when it came to paying bills. When he used to be working long hours, the only thing that kept him going was holding on to the hope of finding a property that suited him. He had a feeling one would come along. Then one day, while he was reading the newspaper, that opportunity arose. The next day he was speaking to the real estate agent outside the house. Everything he was telling him sounded perfect. Pat was feeling so lucky, he felt like he was dreaming. He couldn't believe it. There was actually even a swimming pool in the back of the house. He used to love on his downtime to relax by the pool. He hoped he would meet a nice lady and settle down with her and start a family. When Pat was in work these days, he felt a lot happier and much more energetic. He had finally secured the dream of having a property of his own and one of his dreams. His workmates noticed the change in him. They even said it to him. They thought he met a new woman and asked him was that the reason. When he told them about his new property, they couldn't believe it. He could even sense jealousy from some of his workmates. One night, Pat was watching TV and suddenly he smelt smoke. He went into the kitchen to see a huge fire. He quickly got his tablet that was nearby to document the damage to claim fire insurance. He hoped he wouldn't lose his dream house over some stupid fire. Suddenly a page from a newspaper fell in front of him. He picked it up and saw what looked like his house staring right up at him. He read, "Dream house goes on sale after 50 years. After man claims the property is too haunted and dangerous to people live in. 3 people perished in a fire 4 times over the previous 10 years. The owner passed away this month, and with a lot of legal battles, the property finally goes on sale for a fraction of the price it is worth." Pat stopped reading, realizing he was in the middle of a fire. He got a start when he saw 3 people standing in front of him. They didn't seem to be one bit worried about the fire. He screamed at them to get their phone and call the firefighters. One man said to him, "Don't worry about the fire. You had to see that article to break you being dishonest with yourself. We were the same until we got a newspaper piece flying into our face. You are already dead, just like us. But now that you realise it, you can see us. Pat froze in the spot, realising there was fire all around him, but he felt no pain. Then he looked over, behind the people, and saw himself lying, dead on the ground, almost burnt to a crisp. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Thomas was looking forward to go to the cinema on Friday night. There was an exclusive invite only of a new zombie movie at 6, and right away there was a public screening at 8, which he was going to. He was really looking forward to the movie, as it promised to give a new cinema experience never experienced before. Thomas had an early dinner before heading out for the cinema. He finished his meal, then 5 minutes later he was driving to the cinema. He loved going to the cinema since he was a little boy. He knew that he loved the cinema since the very first time he stepped foot inside one. The local cinema was a 20-minute drive for him. He drove a bit faster because he didn't want to miss the start of the movie. He knew they would put on maybe 15 minutes of ads, so that gave him some extra time. When he arrived at the cinema, he went to get his ticket scanned, but was surprised there was a big crowd of people looking very upset. The person behind the counter said, "I'm sorry everyone, the cleaners are still in screen 7. We won't be long more. I'm very sorry for this. It's not cleaned yet." The crowd were growing more and more impatient, as it was now 8 o'clock. Thomas had patience, but this was driving him crazy. He was wondering would the movie be still on, or would he miss the start of it. The crowd were really irritated now with the long wait. He pretended to go to the bathroom, and as he was passing screen 7, he snuck in. He was waiting to be told it wasn't ready by the cleaners, but they didn't say anything. It was almost like the crowd from the premiere didn't even leave yet. It was so dark, it was hard to see. Thomas got out his torch. He always brought to the cinema to find his seat, as he liked it old school instead of using his phone's torch. He screamed when he could see there was a group of what looked like zombies coming for him. He said to himself it must be some sort of fancy dress for the premiere, until the lights came on, and he was then bombarded with the evil, twisted sight of what looked like zombies lying down in the ground in pools of blood. Out in the foyer, the crowd waiting were pleased to hear the man behind the counter say, "Okay everyone, sorry for the delay, but the cleaners have finished now. Ye are free to go into screen 7. Enjoy the movie." The crowd walked in to screen 7, really looking forward to see the movie. All their frustration was gone already, because all they wanted to do was watch the movie and enjoy it. When they went into screen 7, they could hear growling and couldn't register anything else, because that is when they were turned in to zombies. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Tracy was 8 years old and had a habit of burying things in the garden. Her mom didn't really mind, as she used to remember when she was her age. She used to think she could dig to Australia, since it was cold down under. One night it was a doll she buried. The next night it was a teddy bear she buried. And it really upset her mom one night when it was a stray cat she was burying. Jackie, her mom, screamed when she saw the dead stray cat and asked Tracy where did she get it. Tracy said the devil told her to bury it. Jackie was very concerned and knew that Tracy had to be seen by a therapist. Jackie tried to find out, did Tracy find the cat or actually kill it herself? Tracy went through months and months of therapy, and thankfully she didn't bury anything else until one night. Jackie saw Tracy dig a hole, and she was amazed at how big the hole was. She said to Tracy, "Sweetie, you know you're not meant to bury anything anymore," Tracy said. "I know, Mother, but this is the very last thing I will ever bury." Jackie asked her what it was. Tracy pulled out a gun and said, "You, Mother." Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Michael and his mom, Jane, were visiting their friend Mary, who they didn't see for years. Michael found it very nice visiting her again, since they were out of the country for years, but her home was just how he remembered it. Mary lived with her son Jack. Michael and Jane were chatting to Mary for about a half an hour when Mary dropped a bombshell. She said to Michael and Jane, "This isn't my house anymore, you know." Jane asked what did she mean, and Mary kept talking. "This isn't my house anymore. There are people living upstairs. They come back after work at about midnight. I'm in bed by the time they're back. I never see them. There was a big stairs in the house, but there were only one room on each side." Jane said, "But what room do they live in? You only had 2 rooms upstairs." Mary said, "They're all in one room." Michael and his mom, Jane, thought either 2 things, that Mary was playing a trick on them or was simply confused. They spoke for a while longer while drinking coffee. After a while, Mary showed Jane her garden. She was admiring her flowers. There were beautiful, colourful flowers all over her garden. While Michael's mom and Mary were admiring the garden, his curiosity got the better of him, and he walked upstairs. He opened the door that was Jack's bedroom, and luckily he wasn't there. But it was just like he remembered it. There was a basketball and baseball bat resting up against the wall. He froze when he heard a noise. He couldn't place what it was, but he went to open the door to the only other room upstairs. He froze when he saw in the far side of the room a cage with 2 men and 2 women inside. He quickly rang the police, and within 10 minutes the police arrived. He was lucky he remembered the local police station's number. Michael was delighted to have saved the people kept captive. He found it strange that the policeman was talking privately with Mary. He listened outside the door to see could he hear what he was saying, and a shiver ran up his spine when he heard the cop say to Mary, "Mary, I know you get confused and talk about all different things, but how many times do I have to tell you that you can't speak about those people upstairs?" The other cop was on the phone, and I could hear, "Jack, how in the hell are we meant to protect you running a people trafficking operation when your mother keeps telling people that there are people living in the house?" Michael froze, wondering what to do. When the two policemen came back into the room, he acted like he didn't notice anything. His mom Jane didn't even have the chance to be told by Michael what was happening. Thankfully, Michael and Jane were able to leave the house, and as soon as he did, he explained to his mom. Suddenly he smelled smoke and could see it was coming out of the windows. Mary was outside her house shouting, "Why are ye leaving so early? I am just about to make ye some dinner." Michael had guessed Mary had left food on burning, which caused a fire. But what a great time she did cause a fire, as he rang the firefighters right away and explained what he saw upstairs. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.